maye, torofa. Doni torofa, torofa no maye.
Humans are made from humus, that Adam comes from Adama, and so even a very core beliefs of who we are as people is this connection to the earth, and it's so easily forgotten. Soiled, dirty are bad words, so rather than being proud that we're made of soil or dirt or sacred soil, we instead sidestep that and get into some dangerous spots, I think.
When we treat the earth as an object, as a commodity, we turn ourselves into the same sort of commodity. People become things of use rather than means to an end. And we lose something of ourselves, just as when we treat other people as objects. We lose something of ourselves. We lose that same part of ourselves when we see nothing in the earth but what can be taken from it.
And that's my hope, that I can take the ideas of the environmental movement, which connected me deeply as a human and as an earthling, and in my identity and my understanding of creation as a Muslim. And in my book, the goal is that it is a form of poetry so that we can connect on that level.
From that spiritual and theological grounding, our secular movements stand to learn a lot and gain a lot. I think about the challenge of elitism in the food movement. I believe that our work needs to be relevant to those with the least before it's relevant to the most. And that good, clean, fair food isn't a privilege for a few people, it's a universal right. That idea of the first later being last and being relevant to the least before the most is something that I think we have to learn from religious traditions. So look at 2008 as a year to examine. We produced more food than ever before in the history of the world in 2008. We had more obese people than ever before in the history of the world in 2008. More people went hungry than ever before in 2008, all in the same year. And you look at this world where if you're poor, you're extraordinarily likely to either be obese or hungry. And in some households and communities, particularly urban communities in the US, you have people who are both. They're suffering from obesity, and they don't know when their next meal is coming from because of the broken food system we've built. So you see that every problem that plagues us is really connected to the food we eat and the way it's produced. So this is all bad news. This is the environmental bad news stuff that you're saying. The good news is that in food and farming are all of the solutions. There are the practical solutions. So if you look at the climate change piece, if we took the 160 million acres in our country that produce industrial corn and soybeans, and you transition them to organic production, it would meet the US, 73% of the US's Kyoto Protocol tranche through sequestering carbon in the soil. So we would meet 73% of our needed reduction in greenhouse gases just by shifting those acres to organic food. So in food and farming, there are not just the problems, but there are solutions.
We, as faiths, have a tremendous economic power as purchasers and as investors that has lain dormant. It's the parable of the talents. We've buried our talent in the ground, and then we're able to say at the annual report, look, we've still got some money in the bank. Whereas in fact, what we should be doing is saying, right, where could I put my one talent so that it actually would attract and create a possibility of new business models, new business groups and organizations that nobody else would follow initially. With the Church of England's investment portfolio, with the Church of Sweden's investment portfolio, we were able to set up a group called Global Solidarity Foundation that has replanted 140,000 hectares of forest in Mozambique, created a wood industry. Half of that will remain as a national park when it comes to fullness. And Harvard Pension Fund is the third investor in that program. But it only started because two churches put in £5 million each. We can change the world. We own an awful lot of it.
Where is your soul? S-O-U-L. It's where your soul is. S-O-L-E. Under your feet and in touch with sacred soil. divide us, can divide us, will divide us. But the pressure will be for us coming together because of what's happening to the planet.
We're going to move forward. We all need to move forward together. And this divide, anger, and conquer isn't going to be something we're going to be able to use. We can't get people angry enough to want to do something about the environment. That's not going to work. We need to be about pulling everybody together, and out of that unity, recognize that we all have a stake in a lot of things, and that's going to be hard work. It's going to take some time.
But contemporary environmentalism has a kind of universality of love, which resonates deeply with all the world's religions.
I think that the interfaith community has great potential to offer for the environmental movement. And I think that creation has wonderful opportunities for pulling people of differences, even different faith perspectives, together. Because creation is something that is central and common to all of our faith narratives.
And it has been faiths that have either died as a result of failing to manage a crisis, or it's been faiths that have actually got us through by restructuring the way that communities lived, overcoming problems through communal activity. So embedded within each of the major faiths is a memory of having been here before. And as I was saying last night, when you're trying to pass on a memory of how we got out of the last crisis, particularly in a largely pre-literate world, you embed this in song, in poetry, in ritual, in mythology, and so forth. So part of what we're doing is actually drawing out of the faiths the richness of their sheer diversity, and not worrying that that might mean that we're all different, because that's actually what we are. And I think part of the solution to this is not seeking to create some mono system that everybody has to buy into, but finding some way in which that diversity can feed us. As a theologian, but also as an environmentalist, I'm intrigued by the fact that God, through evolution, works through biodiversity. Well, if that's how God works with the natural world, I'm pretty sure that's how God works with the human mind and society. We need that diversity. What we're trying to do is to harness this extraordinary knowledge and awareness skills that lie out there in the secular organizations with the astonishing sustainability of faith communities and the centrality of food and the meaning of food and the ritual of food and the transcendence of food, and put those together. And we've set a modest target. We like to do this. We're aiming to move 1 billion people into becoming ethical purchasers or faith-consistent users, producers, buyers of food. It's not impossible, as you've said. 100% of us eat, 85% are faithful. If we could make the faithful eat what is faith-consistent, well, that would actually change the world.